Tekrevol, and I'm honored to welcome you to our very first webinar of LaunchSphere. This is a joint initiative by Tekrevol and DART. LaunchSphere is built with one goal in mind, which is to help startups not just survive, but scale in this globally recognized market and sort of, essentially go to new heights. Today's discussion beyond incubation is about creating unicorn startups with a digital-first strategy. This is all about bridging the gap between early stage incubation and sustainable high growth success. So we're going to be taking a deep dive into what are the different aspects that you need to consider when you go from, ideating or testing out the market or finding that product market fit to actually scaling towards a unicorn business. So we know that many startups struggle post incubation, whether it's scaling globally or finding the right talent, or leveraging technology or securing strategic partnerships. So our guests here today are well versed in those areas. So that's exactly what we're going to be tackling today with the insights from these industry leaders. Joining us are three incredible experts. I'm going to invite them one after the other. So first is Rasha. She's the co-founder of Digital Digest. She's an expert in digital branding and marketing, and she'll share insights on leveraging technology to break into new markets. Hi, Rasha. How's it going?
Hi, Abid. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you for joining us. Do you want to take a few minutes to introduce yourself?
So, my name is Rasha Ghamlouch. I'm the co-founder of the Digital Digest. We're two parts business. We run a platform that aggregates the top news on the Middle East and North African digital economy. So you can kind of stay updated on everything that's going on around you from all the different media sources in one place. And we help startups as well as growth stage companies and VCs position themselves in the market, engage with the media, and also understand the media, the landscape there in and with some market intelligence and research. So kind of supporting the tech ecosystem overall. Like I've been working with startups and VCs for over 15 years in the MENA region. So I've seen a lot of the changes that have happened around us. And I think in the past 5 years of working on the Digital Digest with the team, we've seen the market evolve through ups and downs and some really fascinating changes over the past few years.
Amazing. Sounds really exciting.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna sort of jump into our next guest, and so we can sort of pull him on stage. He is a strategic marketing leader who will dive into the AI data-driven decision-making aspect and tech-first framework for global growth. Mark, the CEO and founder of Smart Fox Group. Hey, Mark, how's it going?
Hi, Abir. How are you doing? Great to be here.
I'm good. Thank you. So do you want to take a couple of minutes to introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. So as you said before, my name is Mark Reinicke. I'm the founder and CEO of SmartFox Group and newly Diviverse. So I will come to that maybe in a bit. As I said, I come from marketing and sales perspective, so more from the business side, but now I'm fully into AI and I'm no developer, just to keep it up front. I'm no developer, but we as a SmartFox Group and in Diviverse, we help businesses to take this new and amazing technology and just to automate the whole processes, the businesses, and to take over all repetitive tasks where AI just excels.
Right. I feel like our conversation is going to be very interesting because there's a lot of things that I want to dive into. So before we dive into the rest of the session, our last guest, Jack, is going to be joining in from DART. Jack's a seasoned business leader with hands-on experience in helping companies scale through strategic partnerships and operational excellence. And that's one of the things that he's going to be covering as well. Thank you, Jack, for being here.
Hey there, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, all good. It's great to finally be here. Looking forward to kicking things off with LaunchSphere, getting started with the educational, archive. It's going to be great.
Amazing. So I guess without further ado, we will just dive in. Let me see if the presentation has shifted. So our first topic, let me. Okay, All right. So the first topic is obviously post-incubation challenges and solutions. So within that particular aspect, there's a few things that we definitely want to sort of understand. There's a very big question that I feel gets asked around a lot. And That is, what does it take for a startup to go from incubation to scale or acceleration, right? So the first answer is, what got you here is not going to take you there to the unicorn status. And there's obviously like different challenges that we need to sort of address in that particular aspect. So let's go through those challenges. So in your experience, Russia, like, what do you feel is is the main sort of reason why companies are fail post I mean, even if they've achieved product market fit, where they fail when they get to the scaling part of this?
I think just there's obviously getting to product market fit in itself is one of the biggest challenges. And I think a lot of people think they've gotten product market fit, but then when they start to scale, they realize the size of the market they're actually serving is quite small. So while they might be testing that product with people that are like them or within their circles or in their environments, once they start literally going out to market and meeting new clients, they realize the size of the market is much smaller than they think it is. The other challenge we see quite a lot is overbuilding features. So, and this is something we see continuously in the MENA region, I mean, all the time. The founders are really obsessed with a certain feature. They spend a lot of money building it. That's the number one feature that nobody uses. And like, the more money you've spent on it, the more likely no one is going to use this feature on day one. Eventually that feature might be useful. It's just not the right thing to prioritize at the beginning. And people don't know how to simplify their product. It's the most, as simple as your product is, I think you should just simplify even more. And when you're very early on a communication level, we see two challenges. Either they've over-engineered their communication strategy too much, and then they become very unflexible on how they need to adapt to the market. If their messaging is locked in 100%, everything is locked in, like, that's it. They can't change anymore. Or they've absolutely not thought about it. And then, they need to launch, the product is ready, but the website is not. And it's absolutely not ready, not even close. So we see the two extremes. I rarely see startups in between. And I think people need to take it a little slow, build slowly, launch a feature at a time, and have very simple communication and be extremely flexible when it comes to how they adapt their messaging, especially in the first year of their existence.
I think it is definitely true for most tech founders, who think that PLG, product-led growth, just means that they need to keep adding more features and see which one becomes a viral hook. And by all means, definitely keep scaling your product, but I think the focus should be on market demand. It should be on the growth aspect. Like, what do your drivers look like? What are the different metrics that you want to scale? Because that's what counts. If your business is not, doesn't have that hockey stick graph, no investor is going to be interested in you, right? So I think that is a very valid point that you made. I think you also mentioned, about serving the niche market and then sort of not being able to, go broader. That's, very, very big fact, I think. I think what we also need to sort of wrap our heads around is that when we hear that that statistic being thrown around, that 95% of the startups that come out fail. What's interesting is that these 95% the 5% startups that get left over, they're the ones that are actually going to get out of post incubation and achieve product market fit. But even out of these 5%, 90% more fail when they're trying to become a unicorn. And we've seen so many devastations that have happened. Even in our space, there was Airlift, which scaled to like almost a unicorn status, but then crashed and burned. There's VWork that is highly sort of talked about. So yeah, I mean, it's a valid point. So let me sort of dive into, sort of operational efficiencies or, having that predictable revenue stream created. I know Mark would love to kind of dive into the AI side of it. Like, how does the startup of today look like when it comes to like operational efficiencies using AI?
Yeah, that's the golden question we all need to answer. And to be honest, most startups don't use it. So they are into their problem, whatever it be it tech or whatever startups, they're just into their product and not working on the processes. Because I work with startups and enterprises and mediums, so all kind of businesses. And most of them, they all have the same issue, no processes. And if they have process, there's a human in between and there's some manual copy pasting, and that's the issue. No one, they should in an early stage start to think about what is my process? What do we do? What do we really do? Be it using AI, be it analytics at the end of the day. How do we get our revenue on our bank account? There's so many points in your operational processes where you could use and point AI, but if there is no process, AI cannot help you. And that's the main issue I see in all kinds of businesses, especially in startups and younger entrepreneurs that maybe don't have the experience from working in a corporate sector where you have those. So I'm a corporate guy. I worked in enterprises. You have those barriers. Do your job, not left, not right. But as an entrepreneur, even now, you need to do everything. And this is where AI can really help you in every process, not even ChatGPT, the way you have to use ChatGPT in the back end, as we build them like these. I call it AI employees to have it. Yeah, it's your co-pilot. It's working with you, doing the job for you, or even better than you, so you can have a better day. And business is and can be easy if you use it in a very smart way. And yeah, my biggest learning also from starting in a new space from zero is not trying to do this hustle all day long from morning till night, working, get your rest, get AI working for you.
Yeah, I think, and I would say that even as an entrepreneur myself, I've fallen into this trap more than a few times. That, in essence, like, you don't document your processes, and you're not going to be able to automate a task that is time consuming for no reason if you're not going to document the entire thing. I think at the end of the day, you want to create your growth engine framework when you're going, from MVP to scaling, because I mean, and this is one of the fallacies that most startups have, right? Like, all they need is money to start burning into ads and generating the traffic, generating the leads, and the sales are going to come from that, and revenue is going to come. I think if you have a leaky bucket, if your process is broken, if your entire structure is not automated, no amount of water is going to give you the right output, right? Like, it's just going to keep leaking out. You want to make sure that you have these operational efficiencies so you can be lean enough so that when you start scaling and you start adding the right people, there's stuff that, if somebody leaves, there's somebody else that can take the job. Or, like you mentioned, the agentic framework, you have different agents, AI agents that are working alongside your resources to augment. There's this gap, right?
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, you make a very valid point. And coming back to the point that I think we were discussing earlier, which is, when you're looking at when you're a startup and you're that MVP stage, obviously, like, it's easy. You can test the market. You're very experimental. You can go through different use cases. You can perfect your product market fit, right? But then in order for you to scale, you can get the first 1,000 customers in your local market. That's I mean, not easy. Obviously, it's challenging, but it's something that startups have done time and time again, that we've worked with, that we've seen in the industry. But in order for you to get to your first 100 million, you need to think globally. And I think, when we go for, global expansion, the right first step is, partnership over cold entry. Like, you don't want to burn, the raise that you just had on, setting up a business and just sort of going in without having the right partnerships or without having the knowledge. And I'd love to kind of, take insight from Jack in this particular situation. From your perspective, like you've seen, companies enter the Middle East market and help them. What are the biggest challenges that you see startups make when they're making the move?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very good and relevant question, definitely. I think in terms of challenges, I think the first thing, it comes from probably underpreparedness, or potentially unfamiliarity with the UAE market, both from a setup perspective and compliance and legislation, particularly compared to the West. It's very, very different. But what I usually like to tell people or work with entrepreneurs and business owners is that they really need support, and whether that's from an agency, a hub, a third party, someone like a business setup agency, to take all the stress and the hassle of moving, all that paperwork, take it off their plate. But in terms of actually navigating the business market, I feel like Dubai and the UAE in general, the Middle East, is very built upon relationships. Rather, when back in the UK, where I'm from, a lot of people sit behind emails and faceless meetings. Here in the UAE, it's very much about being in person, making connections, building that network. And I think it's probably just a bit of a cultural difference in terms of businesses that entrepreneurs, business owners who are moving here need to adapt to. And the way that they're going to fast track that knowledge and learning of adapting is by joining hubs, by joining networks, by being in with the industry leaders and the thought leaders who are in that space currently in the UAE. In terms of other mistakes, I mean, it was interesting what you were saying then, Abir, about partnerships and about kind of versus cold market entry. I think, again, in terms of the UAE, it's probably relevant in most economies. When you see a business that's partnered with a credible source, whether it's giving value-added services like you've got your HubSpots, your Microsoft, your Amazons. If you're seeing a new company that's setting up that has strong partnerships like that, you're going to quickly raise your credibility, your trust, your authority, so you won't seem like a new entrant into this market. And I think trust is a big thing here. A lot of people read reviews, testimonials. So as a new market entrant, increasing your trust and credibility straight away is something I would be looking into. This can also be done through PR pieces as well. So yeah.
Oh, that was a very sort of robust answer. I think that definitely sort of carries on. So the next point in our discussion is a challenge, and I wanted to come to it last because I feel like this is the best one. The right team, right? Like you put in the days and nights, you burned the midnight oil, you put out your MVP, you started getting your customers, and they're loving it, they're scaling, everything's going great, right? That is a potential challenge. That is a potential problem because the early team that you scaled with, the early team that you set up your, sort of your product was built to get to market early, right? You might have been scrappy initially. You might have been really focused. You're putting in, like I said, 16, 18 hours a day into work. The focus is speed in the initial stage, not scale. At this point, you do not need generalists because most of the people are probably doing like 3-4 jobs in your startup, right? You need specialists. You need people who can replace, the key decision maker in your teams with, industry insights, things that can actually scale, with time, and you can then add in more people under them. So, there you would see symptoms like burnouts, you'll see, lack of clear roles, you would see hiring bottlenecks. And the one that plagues the most people that I see in myself a lot of times, and a lot of entrepreneurs, is founders. They try to do everything themselves. Or they hire like super late. That is the biggest challenge when it comes to scaling, right? So I mean, I'm gonna, let this conversation, this particular topic, be a little bit open, because I want to hear from everybody else. But when you look at, sort of teams going from, let's say, 10, 20 people to like 1,000 people or 2,000 people, right? In a span of like a couple of years, so maybe months, when they've raised their first capital round. What are some of the nuances that you've sort of noticed in successful, scaling startups? Anybody can jump in when you guys feel like.
Oh, go on, Rasha. Go on.
I was going to say, I don't think most of the startups we've seen drew this hockey stick growth in talent have crashed. Like very few have survived. I think Mark said something very interesting, which is about documentation. I think you can scale as fast as you can document your processes and adapt them. If you have no documentation, it's just impossible to do it. You can grow fast after Series A if you've raised a big round, but by the time you got to Series A, you should have the foundation. You should have some sort of structure in place and governance so that can scale you. When it comes to the tech side, I generally tell startups everything you've built up to Series A, the probability is at Series A, you need to chuck it out and rebuild from scratch because you've been patching. You've been building one thing and then building another and another and kind of patching it up. Because otherwise, if you're too structured at the beginning, sometimes it gets tricky. If it's, it's not that easy to build for scale from day one, as you said. But same goes for talent management. It's not easy to have the same structures you had on day one and then go scale with them to growth. And then everything we saw in 2021 and 2022 during the highest valuations, where startups were doubling in valuations every 8 months and hiring 1,000 people in a year, WeWork, among many others, are not doing very well, right? And very few have managed to maintain that scale, maintain that valuation. I can't think of a single startup that's maintained that valuation from 2021, actually. So, and this is obviously not specific to MENA. This is everyone. The MENA region had the lowest bubble, if you want, because people are a little bit risk averse and they're more calculated when it comes to their valuations. But it's just unrealistic to have that explosion in my personal, what I've seen. So I don't know if the guys have seen anything successful.
I mean, there's quite a few examples, Zoom being one of them, NVIDIA.
How big are those today, right? From a team perspective, and what's their valuation?
Oh, yeah. I think actually, you know what? That is an interesting thought. I think Mark will probably be jumping into this very, very fast. We're gonna see a lot more people downsizing, because of this AI revolution that's coming in. And at the end of the day, like, if you're not doing it, your competitor is, and they're gonna cut you on the cost, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like you mentioned processes, I think that's totally a valid point. If you've set up your process and then at that point, if you want to hire 100 people, they're just gonna sort of follow that process. If there's just hiring without any purpose, process, or structure, then yeah, it's chaos. And scaling does not happen in chaos. It's the iteration, the experimentation that does, which is totally fine. I made a point which you didn't take on, but I'd love for Mark to take it on, or perhaps Jack. What about replacing, your A team that was there that got you to MVP? What are your thoughts on that?
So maybe for me, it's like, as I build lots of products and also we are lots of times in these early stages, trying, iterating, wasting and starting again. And you need to replace your old guys. So as you said before, as a startup phase, you have so many jobs to do. Even working with developers, I don't hire them. I just work with them on a contract base because I know as soon as we're done with the MVP, I don't need them. I need a specialist on a particular technology, particular AI language. That's a problem. For me, I can tell you from a tech perspective, tech is so fast nowadays, and you cannot hire 70 developers just to use them once a year. That doesn't work. So you need to find a solution. And for me, the future, even using AI, will be one centralized generalist that knows most of, from the developer's perspective, knows most of the programmer languages and uses AI to do the rest. So,
when you say generalist, you mean like the developer or the actual AI agent? Or are you talking about AGI?
The developer. So the real human developer. So that's my future perspective, not for this year, but maybe 26, 27.
That's actually, sorry to like jump in, because you touched on something, and it's like a hot button issue for me. Like that's what we're doing right now, like a hybrid, human AI engagement. So like, you hire one developer, but you're actually getting like 2.5, 3x for that same price. I think you're perfectly spot on. That is the future before AGI comes in and puts us all in the matrix.
That's what we all want.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's totally irrelevant. I know one scrappy startup that is making some big waves. It's called DART. And I think with the team that Jack has, they're really putting in a lot of efforts. What are some of the things, from your perspective, in terms of scaling, that perhaps DART or LaunchSphere is going to be doing, and some of the scaling, hacks that you've sort of learned or are applying to kind of get to that unicorn status soon?
I mean, bringing it back to the topic of hiring talent and workforce, I probably have a bit more of a traditional approach to hiring. I'm very much a hire slow, fire fast kind of style, and it comes back to, of course, the staff. They're the backbone of the organization, and it's about fostering collaboration, teamwork. And as a founder or a senior manager, it's about instilling a clear vision and a mission and making sure the whole team is kind of bought in on that, and you're all working towards the same aim and same goal. I think it's probably an interesting topic, actually, when we talk about AI replacing workforce. For me, a big thing with workforce staff, with an office space, is instilling a great culture. And having the culture from top to bottom, whether it's the way you communicate, how you do meetings, outside of work activities. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how there's a cultural shift in organizations and what potential challenges it exposes us to when a lot of the work is being done by AI and autonomous, and whether how we can utilize these AI agents to almost feel a part of the team. Does that compromise a bit of the culture? Does it make people feel more disconnected? Is there some, strategies in place there to integrate? It's definitely something that I'm seeing on the horizon. And I think probably sooner rather than later, it's going to be something that's going to be, someone's going to have to come up with a solution to this kind of concern. I don't know, Mark, if you've got any kind of thought on that.
I just wanted to interrupt you. Yes, so there are basically already solutioned. It's called Human in the Loop. And for me, it's very, very, very important that AI does the jobs that are, let's say, easy to do, and then get back to you, to us as humans, saying, is that okay for you? And then you give the AI your answer, no, change this and that, and then you get a feedback loop, like you do with your employees. You do it with your AI employee.
Okay.
You need to have like this kind of interactions. There will be jobs that can be done autonomously, for sure. Like, I don't know, posting some blog posts and putting them in the web. That's an easy task. But would you really, even as a startup, would you really give AI your whole business and all your revenues and everything and let it just run it for you? I'm not sure.
Obviously, it's the most cost-effective approach for some, but no, I don't agree.
I think there's definitely different businesses and use cases. Sorry, Rasha, go ahead.
No, I was going to say also cost-effective is a very not sure that's the case, actually. Depending on what you're doing, training AI to do something that you need might be much actually more costly than outsourcing talent to talent-rich countries that are more affordable. In some cases, it might have a long-term value, but till today, the cost of AI, depending on what you're doing at an enterprise level or at a startup level, it's quite expensive. It's not that cheap, unless you're doing surface things, right?
Yeah.
So I would actually disagree there. Actually, I was going to disagree with Jack as well on the traditionalist approach in hiring. I feel like I thought Jack was being contrarian, but I feel now that I'm being contrarian because I just disagree with two speakers. But like, so for example, if you use something like Replit or, you use some of the AI tools for like social media automation, things like that, you could potentially replace individual resources that are like, for example, Replit allows you to create web applications, and I am not a programmer, just like Mark. Yet, I have created web applications that would have taken developers like months, if not weeks, to develop. I don't see the reason why we need to. And yes, there's a case to be made here that an augmentation between a human and these tools would definitely be superior, because a developer that can actually look at the code, edit it, and all that stuff will definitely make it faster. And we've done that. We've already deployed different AI tools internally to scale our production and bring it down from like months and months into like weeks, right? That is a cost saving. I understand that your point, which is computational cost, which is at this point, because it's like being funded and there's like hundreds, if not trillions of dollars being put into AI, the computation cost is being borne by the investors who are going to get filthy rich by making us pay more later on, but not for another 5 to 10 years. I think that's going to happen. And again, by that time, probably AGI will take control and just, take everything from us anyways. But yeah, I think I would totally say that I'm super excited. Like, I've had conversations with people and eaten their ears out on AI. So yeah, I think there is a cost saving benefit. That is one of the reasons why these companies are worth billions of dollars now. And it's just gonna scale exponentially. I think the only cost that I would agree with is the training cost, not the training cost of the AI. It's the training cost for human beings to use AI. So,
I've done this myself. Like, we've built a product where we had to train a lot of OpenAI, and it was very expensive, and it wasn't even that good. Like, just so we're on the same, like, it wasn't even at that level.
Bad developers.
So I think it depends on what you're using it for. And statistically speaking, CFOs today of enterprises and big startups, every time someone comes to them with an AI solution, they're saying, show me the actual AI, this cost savings, because we're spending millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands, depending on what the company is. Replit is a good example that someone that's cracked it, but the reality is that it doesn't apply to everything. There's a lot of scenarios where AI is just being added on top. The infrastructure is not ready. It's not scalable. And therefore, between computational electricity and all of these things, the cost is too high. But also what's happening is that AI sometimes, if not used properly and if not optimized and if it's not structured, et cetera, AKA the company is not ready for digital transformation, the basic foundational things, the company's actually firing talent and then rehiring them, because they think, I don't need a big marketing team, or I don't need a team that does this anymore. And this happened a lot in HR teams globally, where everyone got fired and then suddenly they had 0 interviews because AI-powered ATS systems were just rejecting everybody, right? And so once a human being looked at these CVs, and this has happened countless times, once the human beings looked at the CVs, they realized they were very qualified leads that the AI just rejected. So the cost of firing talent and rehiring in the past, 12 months of this hype of AI is going to save all of this money from us is becoming also something that's a big question today. Because again, Replit has cracked this, and I've seen a lot of examples where this has been useful, but also how scalable is it to use Replit all the time? That's probably not very scalable. You need someone that knows what they're doing, the right prompt masters to build a product out of a solution rather than just replacing your development team, right? So there's a pros and cons. It's not a magic button. It's a merger of different things, and augmentation, as you said, is the best way forward.
Right, Mark, do you want to tag team?
we could do this for hours and weeks. Because in the I struggle all day with discussing with businesses on the cost saving and revenue generating. So just to give you a bit of a picture, as I said before, we build these AI employees working just doing the job, so they don't need to control them, and we focus on everything we do is voice-based, so on the phone doing these calls, and we just replace whole call centers. There is no one sitting anymore, so they're doing other jobs because the AI can do the job better than they can, because there's no coffee breaks, sticking to the script. It's just more efficient and leads to more revenue. And my clients tell me we lose money because of not sticking to the script and jumping from left to right, and now I don't want to go now, I have, problems at home, and that's all coming into the job, and AI just keeps to that. And it's just one example. It's cost saving, but at the same time, it's a massive opportunity in making so much more revenue because you just can scale.
But Rasha does bring a valid point on that front. I'm sorry, sort of kind of jumping in, because I think that part was probably missed out. One is the incorrect implementation of AI can be extremely costly. I completely understand. And then additionally, the idea of implementing AI just for the sake of implementing AI is another stupid mistake that I've seen so many companies make. We get customers that are coming in, they're like, can you add AI into that? As if I don't know, it's like Salt Bay, like adding like salt from the top. So it just it's preposterous to kind of, you really have to understand and ideally hire somebody like Mark's team to really run this through. I just plugged you, by the way. So I think that is definitely important, and from a cost perspective, a valid point. And let me sort of get to the next topic of the agenda, because I want to keep moving this along before my team messages me. So leveraging technology for startup success. When we and you've kind of touched upon it, Rasha, a little bit, but let's take a deeper dive into the role of digital branding and localized marketing and scaling. How does technology help in getting to that part? I know you have some insights that you want to share with us, so please go ahead.
So I think one of the common things we see, not just from from international startups opening in this region, but also from regional companies scaling to new markets, is the lack of understanding of the new markets they're in. So a lot of international companies come into Dubai. Dubai is an international market. It's beautiful. It's easy. It's English speaking. Depending on what you're doing, you can get away with using your international playbook in Dubai to an extent. However, depending on what the business is and who's that segment that you're talking to within those organizations, English might not cut it. The types of content you're producing are not going to cut it. And the platforms you're on might not be the right platforms, right? And this is something that we see a lot from international companies coming into Dubai. And then the second layer is you've expanded into Dubai, you have some clients, fantastic. you can't expand into Abu Dhabi as easy, and it's in the same country, right? They or to Saudi, for example, because obviously this is the next biggest market in the roadmap of anyone that's expanding into the region. So because these are Arabic first markets, the social dynamics are completely different. And like Jack said, it's definitely relationship based, but it's not just relationship based. It's a WhatsApp culture. It's not an email culture. So if you think you're gonna get a Salesforce CRM based on your emails, good luck with that. You probably are better off using a CRM that optimizes WhatsApp Business than you are with a CRM that optimizes emails. People like in-person events. They like to see you. They like to have coffee. They like to know what your family does. It's a completely different dynamic. And that dynamic, the international kind of extension dynamic ends at the borders of Dubai, really. The moment you move into the other countries or other regions or cities, that doesn't exist anymore. And so startups that are based in Saudi also, when they come to Dubai, they clash with the market because they're used to a WhatsApp first business. They're used to relationship building. They're used to speaking in Arabic, having all their conversations in a more relaxed environment. And then they suddenly crash into a market that is very email driven, English first. Let's get work done. It's a completely different pace from what they're used to. So like from a CRM perspective, what technologies people are considering, the languages they think they're automating. So if you're having an AI powered call center that works great in Dubai in English, that's not going to scale with you to new markets. And that CRM system might not scale with you to new markets. And there are startups, obviously, that are capitalizing on this by servicing Arabic first and different technologies in the region. But figuring out what works for you is really important. Another extremely common challenge is we see a lot of companies expand with their existing tech stack as is into new markets. And that means Stripe payments, chatbots that are optimized, again, for international audiences, not for local ones, and data capturing or CRMs that are for international markets. The number one way you're going to lose business is to use an international payment gateway in the Middle East. Even if you're in Dubai, rejection rates are still relatively higher than they need to be. Then switching to a local payment gateway. And then also, and I face this personally as a user where, now that a lot more call centers and customer support teams are automated, you talk to international teams and you don't get the support you need because they're not localized to the local market. They're not looking at the challenges of that local market and what needs to change and adapt. And they're using the same template in all markets. And that's been quite interesting to see and kind of confusing at the same time. But adaptation is extremely necessary from a tech stack perspective and from an integrations perspective. How are you managing that pipeline?
Right. I think that's definitely quite a few valid points that you raised. But when we sort of talk about sort of the branding aspect when you're going from startup to potentially a unicorn status, and I think from a statistics perspective, like 70% of the unicorn startups that are built, they are digital first models, right? And then additionally, when we look at the time that it takes for a brick and mortar for brick and mortar business to scale is in tens of years, whereas a unicorn that is built on digital first model could be done within a year, even at this stage with AI and everything else that's coming up. So I think for most of the businesses that I engage with when they're looking to scale, they suddenly get this idea that they need to reposition themselves because for them, branding is an afterthought. And they realize that they're not meant for the market that they're trying to serve or trying to scale into. And you made a very valid point when localization is a very big component. When, like we discussed earlier, to get to your first 100 million, you cannot be local. And I think the ecosystem in Dubai definitely makes it easier, or the UAE in general definitely makes it easier to kind of tap into it. Um, if not from a cost perspective, it'll be like the best market to kind of get into because loads of English speakers and the income is pretty high, so it's easier for you to kind of find your engagement, and people are generally more connected in terms of like the adoption of technology and stuff. So I think in terms of the sort of scalability from the automation standpoint, that to me seems like the biggest mistake that most companies make. You mentioned automation, sort of becoming a little bit restricted when it comes to like localization and sort of principles and cultural nuances. Where do you think there like and that was a very valid point, is like tech stack, payment gateways and stuff. What are some of the aspects that you feel can be generalized that startups to look at new markets and be able to like move most like some of their components, right? So what are some of the things that you feel could actually work in a global market, like for a startup that's scaled somewhere else?
So it depends really what you're doing, right? So are you
Mhm.
B2C, B2B, B2B to C? Uh, Everything that is internal is highly more automatable and highly more scalable. Everything
Mhm.
that's internal, it's about your team, it's about how you operate, how you optimize. The moment you start talking to an audience, and and I understand what you mean about scalability, but the UAE is also not a very big market. It's a total population of 10.5 million people, right? Of which the 10.5 is probably not your target, all your target audience, depending on what your startup is. So, and I understand why startups don't customize too much because it is relatively not a big market. Again, depending on what your business is, enterprise, B2C, etc. So they look at it from a cost ratio perspective on how many more clients can I capture when I go to this market if I'm talking to enterprises or I'm talking to X, Y, or Z, and how much
Just to kind of
customization.
clarify, when I say Dubai, I obviously like don't just mean Dubai. Like most companies would,
The whole
I
country is
perhaps make the mistake.
10.5.
Sorry? No, I mean not just the UAE. Like most companies, and they might make that mistake, perhaps, consider Dubai as the beachfront for the Middle East market, right? So you have KSA, you have Doha, you have Oman, you have so many other countries, and generally affluent countries. So I think that's kind of what startups look at.
Yeah, but that's not how it works, right? Saudi is
Mhm.
an Arabic market, Abu Dhabi is an Arabic market, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar. As
Mhm.
much as they are English friendly, business
Mhm.
decisions are made in Arabic.
Right.
So, like this is the big issue that a lot of people move into Dubai thinking, I'm
Mhm.
going to capture the Middle East from Dubai. You're not. Good luck
Right, right,
scaling into Saudi. I mean, by all means, good luck scaling into Egypt with your tech stack, because that's not going to work either. Business decisions are supplemented. English is a very comfortable language. People speak English. That doesn't mean they will relate to your product in English and in the language, that international language that you're using. And this is something we've seen countless times. It's not even like, I can't think of a startup that actually, and obviously this becomes less of a barrier if you're an enterprise solution, because decision makers are far more comfortable in the English language. But
Mhm.
that doesn't apply to Saudi, for example, where I literally prepare pitch decks and business decks in Arabic to the Saudi market because that's the language they prefer. The
Mhm.
bigger the contracts are, the more you're talking to government, the more you're talking to government supported businesses, private partnerships. Yes, you can do business in English. They prefer to do business in Arabic, and that will be a bottleneck for you at some point if you don't have someone localized on your team.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So and I think our the people that are listening in, would be super excited to hear why they should not be moving to the market. But I think Yeah, so for me, we did make this decision, I think a couple of years ago, to move to the Middle East, and we made that same stupid mistake of considering Dubai to be the beachfront for the Middle East region. And there was definitely missteps, and it costed a lot more than it was anticipating, and the ROI came a lot later than I was anticipating. But right now, the Middle East market contributes more than 50% of our total revenue. Actually, no, close to 50%, 40, 50 shifts. And I think, obviously, like, from a future perspective, I see that sort of scaling a lot more. Just because the market in the Middle East operates in a different way, on a different timeline than the US market or any other potential market. So when things are, sort of on the down circle, in that Western market, generally it's still getting scaled in the Middle East market, and then it flips when that time comes. So from a risk aversion perspective, if you have the capital, definitely a good market to look into. And yeah, I kind of want to shift the conversation off to the next topic, so we can sort of discuss more aspects. So when it comes to, sort of the tech first framework for global growth, right? Specifically talking about AI and sustainability in tech adoption, Mark, do you want to sort of weigh in? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. So as we had covered lots of these points before, I guess we all agree on that AI is here, AI will stay, and before AGI will come, we need to solve our processes, and we're all coming to the same point again. And also coming to processes, like let's talk about our numbers, analytics. We all need to know where are we? You know your revenue, so that's good. I guess lots of entrepreneurs have no idea about their revenue, about the growth rate, about any kind of their KPIs. So wouldn't it be great just to have your own like assistant or solution or whatever it might be, just where your numbers are, and you get recommendations. So that's where we could, as a startup, use technology, use AI to be more wise in our decision, to be fast in our decisions, and not to sit there alone and think about, oh, should I invest? Should I hire someone or not? Having a really knowledgeable partner to discuss with based on your data. So that's, for me, it's a very, very big point where startups and even unicorns in that case, in that phase, should invest in. And also coming to MVPs, building your products. We covered it before. Replit. There are other tools, maybe Bolt.news. So it's also a new one where you're really just talking to an AI, and a couple minutes later your app is running. So that's insane. It takes minutes and maybe hours to develop your product. And it's, for me, it's like Jack said, for hiring, it's hiring slow, firing fast. In product development and even in AI, for me, it's testing fast and building new fast. So it's really going in the market, bringing your product to market as soon as possible, as fast as possible, as an MVP, test your market fit, and as soon as you get the market fit, then hire people and scale it as soon as you can. And then you get the investors in, and then scale. That's what we need to do, because tech is so fast. The longer you wait, the more you waste. I've experienced on my own, good ideas, developing too slow. There is someone getting millions and millions of dollars, and you're just too slow. No one will buy your product anymore. So that's the point. Be really fast, get your product to market and test it. Get real market insights, especially here in Dubai, where you can meet people, where you really can go to them, give them a special offer, give them really some cool insights, and get the feedback from people through your personal connection. And having the right partnerships also helps coming to other countries. Maybe a product working in Dubai, or for let's say real estate in Dubai works different than in Europe or in Saudi. You can have one AI solution for real estate in Dubai. Nobody cares in Saudi. So you need to have a special product there. And that's where scalability is a big topic. Can I really scale with my product in two different even cities? Abu Dhabi is different than Dubai. So that's the crazy part. And you had it before, AI everything. So when ChatGPT came a couple months later on, every single product, every single service or software in the market was AI powered, AI based. Everything's AI. So people do not have a chance to see, is it really AI or is it just AI powered? Is there anywhere AI maybe in the backend? So that's where you really need to be smart in your own decisions. And for me, especially here in Dubai, coming maybe to a point of sustainability. In Dubai, we all know labor is between the lowest and the highest. So you have the salaries in between are not that much. So you have for talking about developers, you have developers on the lower end, and you have the high earning developers. In between is difficult. And taking those low labors, it's very difficult to replace those with AI because they are still cheaper. And Roger, you had it before. If a human is cheaper than an AI, why should I take AI? The human can make you a coffee, AI not. So it's sometimes it's a very, very basic discussion and talking about salaries and labor costs, where you really need to think twice. Should I really put everything into AI or just have my processes in line, automate them, and as soon as they're automated, then I can plug and play AI into some bottlenecks and getting faster and scale more. And for me, tech and especially AI is here to help us to get our time back and to do more smarter decisions and also more sustainable decisions, because we should get more time as AI help us.
I think I would even go a little bit further than that and say that to me, like to me it's scary, honestly, what AI can do. First of all, like there's like I know lawyers have completely replaced like 80% of their team, like their the research people that they would have, or the sort of lower cost resources that they would have that do not have connections, or they weren't bringing sales, because like document proofreading is such a replaceable task now, right? Like you can put in 20 documents into ChatGPT and it'll have it like give you all this sort of step-by-step stuff. You can have prepared documents that are completely free from any errors from a logical perspective. Yes, there might be some nuances that are missed, perhaps. You can have somebody review that, re-review that, perhaps if you need to, but like 80% of your work has shifted. For me, it's scary because not only is it replacing jobs, and agencies like ours could be out of the business in the next year. In fact, our focus right now is, and I have mentioned this so many times internally in our company, that we need to create our iPhone for the iPod. That's how I'm looking at it. Like we're dead. We need to find the next thing that saves us, and we need to move super fast. In fact, we need to scavenge our growth. Like we need to actually create something that kills us so that we can survive. To me, that is what's scary about AI, because even if I don't implement it, if I follow a traditional approach, like give jobs and all that stuff, I'm going to be out of business in the next couple of years, because some other competitor is going to replace all their resources, have like 1/10 of the staff that we have, and then be able to offer like much cheaper prices and better quality, better time aspect. Like there's so many different ways that it just it's scary for me. And even from a sustainability perspective, right? Like you have something that works, if you haven't updated it, if you're not looking at what are the different aspects that you need to integrate now, it keeps changing. Like today, there's agents that are optimizing or automating certain functions, or automating certain aspects of those functions. Tomorrow you could build a multimodal agentic framework which has like one agent talking to the other, and then automate the entire chain of processes. the day after tomorrow, you might have AGI that actually does the decision making as well. So, it's kind of scary when we think about, and it's also exciting for me. Like it kind of works hand in hand. I'm like a adrenaline junkie, so what scares me also kind of excites me. But it is interesting, how we're sort of scaling in that direction. Um, so I want to get to the last part where I know that Jack's prepared a very detailed presentation as well. So in terms of the rights and stuff, I think Jack, you should be able to present, or maybe like the team can pull it up on their end.
I think
Um,
I think the slides are here. Yeah.
okay, amazing. So Jack, over to you. This is a case study, I'm assuming. So
Yeah, I think, we've obviously just spent a lot of time there kind of talking about tech-focused solutions, changing market dynamics, and just kind of to bring it back to the initial point about incubation and scaling startups. I think it would be quite nice just to close on a bit of a case study, look at some evidence where this has happened, and see kind of where they've got to. So this case study is a company called Dubs. They're a Dubai-based startup, and they did leverage an incubator program to grow. They actually went through the incubation journey in around 2016. So I picked this case study because we've kind of had a lot of time now to kind of actually objectively analyze their short-term and long-term success. And I hope the guys watching, can take away some key lessons from the challenges and strategies that Dubs faced and implemented. So just to give everyone some really quick background context, Dubs was founded in 2016. It kind of stemmed from the idea from the founder that the frustration and the cumbersome nature of managing your luggage when traveling. I'm sure everybody here and who's watching has got their own personal nightmare story of luggage. For me, it was the Christmas just gone. I left Manchester Airport with somebody else's case, exactly the same color, same label, same size. It wasn't a great way to start Christmas. But back to Dubs. This baggage handling industry, it's not glamorous. And I think that's one thing about startups and ideas is a lot of people look for where are the buzzwords, where's the glamour? And oftentimes it's the startups and the ideas in these kind of mundane and incumbent industries that make the most difference and have the biggest chance of success. But this baggage industry, it's valued at around 40 billion right now, and it's projected to grow to around 80 billion in 2032. So it's kind of just showing there that it's an essential market. It's a growing market. We've got DXB Airport. They're investing 10 billion into a mega expansion project. You've got London Heathrow adding an additional runway to scale 250,000 flights more per year. So this sector, this baggage sector, while it's not glamorous, one, it's tied to population growth, and two, it's tied to the rapid rate of globalization, which as long as business continues and humanity continues, those factors are going to scale. So it's almost like an economic proof industry. Travel, business, leisure, relocation, cross-border. So there's always kind of going to be a demand for this seamless baggage handling. Now, this is an industry that hadn't really seen any innovation, particularly in the MENA region. And Dubs looked to kind of offer this convenient service where you can hand off your baggage at your house before you leave to the airport or drop it off at arrivals. You take your flight, you go to your home or hotel, and then they kind of bring it to you when you've arrived. So it takes all the hassle, all the stress out of for the passengers. So moving on to the incubation journey, they went with an incubator called Intellect, which is focused on travel and tourism specifically. And in this incubator, of course, it provided the essential mentorship, the resources, the invaluable network there for Dubs to utilize. And like all incubators, accelerators like hubs, what we're doing at DART, what we're going to be doing with LaunchSphere, it's about fast tracking these companies' developments and getting their ideas to market quickly. And Intellect, They're actually not far from my office here in Sheikh Rashid Tower. They're based in DWTC, Dubai World Trade Center. And they run a 3-month initiative that culminates in a demo day to investors and stakeholders. Now, this is obviously a traditional incubator approach, which is kind of you enter one side, you go through that really intense short-term program, and then you emerge from the other side and you kind of navigate the market independently. This is probably a little bit different. Well, it is a lot different to what we've adopted here at DART. We're kind of more of that modern ecosystem approach where we kind of support businesses more on a long-term basis, and we give the business owner the flexibility to, approach it as stressful or as relaxed as possible. But I'm sure Dubs through this 3 months had a very intense and productive time in the incubator. Challenges that they faced, they're obviously entering a very competitive market. The incumbents were dominating the market share. They're entering an industry where security is an absolute top priority while delivering things in a timely manner, which the two often don't go hand in hand. They're going to be facing logistical challenges. You've got to coordinate with ground control, airport staff, flights, logistics, and they need smooth operations. But the vital thing for this business to work is trust. And it's something that I came back to when I was talking about the UAE market. You're dealing with travel, personal belongings, valuable belongings in a stressful time. And so the team at Dubs obviously had this period in the incubation process to develop the solutions, to innovate their ideas, and to bring it to market quickly. Because the incubator, it's all about being in an environment where you can leverage the resources, the support, and you can learn from others and fast track your way to success. So moving on into solutions and implementation. So keeping it kind of on the tech side of things, they implemented an online platform. So this was so customers could schedule luggage pickups and deliveries. It was quite disruptive at the time in the MENA region because it was previously phone calls, in-person branches. If you look at the food delivery industry, it used to be back in the day, say I wanted some Chinese food, you would ring the Chinese, you would speak to the receptionist, you would look at the menu, you would order it, they would give you a vague time, 45 minutes, an hour, someone would come to your door, you'd pay cash in hand. And now we have Uber, Careem, Deliveroo, you just order it on an app and you track it and it comes straight to your door. So that's kind of what Dubs was looking to implement into the MENA region and what they did do successfully. They implemented real-time tracking, which is obviously, Aramex, DHL, all delivery services are doing, where once your parcel is dispatched, you can track where it's going right to your doorstep. This is obviously looking at transparency and building trust with the customers. And then finally, they looked at security protocols. So tamper-evident seals, secure storage facilities, all just designed to reassure the customers that the luggage is in safe hands. And these are all technological solutions that they focused on. So they went through the incubator for 3 months. And what were the results after? I mean, they saw significant growth. Unfortunately, they stopped releasing their numbers in 2019, but they were doing around 1,000 bags per month then. And that was a major milestone at the time, but they've scaled significantly from them. They've secured a lot of healthy, strong partnerships with airlines like Fly Dubai, Saudi, Rwanda Air. Now, these partnerships, not only have they built credibility and trust, they've actually taken them into new markets outside of Dubai where they were based. So they've actually got access to a greater target audience and qualified people just through partnerships. They also have amassed 2,000 Google reviews, so it's just showing again that the whole trust and transparency objective has been met. And actually, the kicker really is, I think we've got a slide too quickly there. Donata, which is a subsidiary of the Emirates Group, actually acquired a major stake in them. And this acquisition, gave them the resource and the backing to really scale. And I think that's probably the reason why figures haven't been released since that major acquisition. So really great success for Dubs. So key takeaways and kind of bringing it back as well to what we've been speaking about in this webinar earlier. The first thing in terms of identifying and addressing market gaps. So for anybody watching here who has an idea or doesn't know where to start, looking at Dubs as case study, it came from the founder looking at his personal experiences and his expertise, his own pain points. And I think that's often the fastest way to get something, an idea going, is looking at your own personal circumstances rather than trying to reach into something that you have no expertise or knowledge on. I think as well, looking at consumer behavior, addressing changes in market needs. We're going into a society where people are favoring much convenience, and sometimes price isn't much of that competitive factor anymore. It's who can come to my door, pick my things up and drop it off when it's needed, rather than saving a couple of extra dirhams on doing it all manually yourself. And it's also important, identify where the money's flowing around the world. Look at past, present, future data. Don't try and guess where the money is going. Look at the actual data. Strategic partnerships for expansion, already covered that with the partnerships with the airlines. But I think for people watching, partnerships as a whole, it can be done in many, many different ways. It could be value-added partners if you're working with a company that you want to bring their service to your customers. So it's like your value and everything you're bringing is more you're offering. It can be setting up referral bridges with other partners. So you're sending less qualified leads that might be more interested in their product. They're sending leads back, and it's a mutualistic relationship. Or you can look at subsidizing and providing your service for free to a partner and getting access to their target audience, collaborating on PR, etc. And finally, operational excellence. Again, we address this with AI and automations, but it's just coming back to focusing right now on tech-driven solutions. And it's all about enhancing customer experience and the service quality. We've spoke about how we can change mundane tasks with AI. Are you still inputting data on spreadsheets? What is the time and opportunity cost of doing that? And you can dedicate those resources to another area of your business. So I think, this case study, I think, is a great testament, very compelling as to incubators, hubs, accelerators, how they can really solidify your business in the early stage and give you a really strong foundation for sustainable growth. I've actually got some metrics here from Business News Daily that was, after 5 years, 87% of incubated businesses remain operational, compared to 44% of those that proceed without support. So you can see there statistically that even just a 3-month period of having access to resources, mentoring, network sessions, etc., is going to do so much more for your long-term success and sustainability. I don't know if any of you guys have any thoughts or any ideas around their implementation of their solutions to the challenges or the market and the demographics they were in. But I think it's definitely interesting, and I hope for the audience it's maybe spurred some ideas or got people thinking.
I'll let you guys dive in.
Or maybe no thoughts
that
at
I
all.
don't stop. So yeah, Mark and Rasha, do you guys want to jump in?
Yeah, maybe there's not too much on the AI. I'm sure they use it now today. But I think one of the biggest points for me here is the partnership point. I'm pretty sure they not just now, let's call it a partnership with Dinata, but also with the other airlines. It's kind of a cooperation and a kind of a partnership. And as you said, Jack, opening the markets and having a warm introduction to a new market. Other than that, if they try to enter the market on their own, no, they wouldn't be there where they are now. So for me, is the partnership, especially in the region, is so important. Not doing everything on your own, as you said before. Use value-added partners or just to enter their markets. Yeah. So for me, it's the biggest learning out of that cool case study. Having your very strategic partnerships.
Yep, I agree. I think it's especially because they're an enterprise business. Scaling, as you said, into the region earlier, we talked about this. It's not a easy or a cheap country to do business. So if you're in an enterprise business, it's more strategically aligned for you to scale to Dubai. You get access to a lot of phenomenal businesses. Danata it's a massive hospitality group by Emirates. So getting that partnership will help you scale in a sustainable way. It might even open up new markets where Danata operates that are not in the UAE. So it's strategic, and I think enterprise, in my personal experience, and that could be just because I'm more interested in B2B businesses, but the B2B businesses, especially on the tech side, they once they crack one client, it really helps them scale. And if they have proper governance and processes and AI optimizations on the back end, scaling into the UAE is cost effective because they can cut those costs in different places to mitigate the cost of expansion. And with the right enterprise clients, it's just really the perfect case scenario.
Right, and I think just from a standpoint of scalability in the Middle East, I think at a certain point when you reach that sort of threshold for understanding the local market and you've sort of cracked the surface, you start getting your customers, it does become a lot easier. I think Jack also mentioned that it's a very network driven place. So more people start to get to know you, the better your chances of success kind of increase, your surface area increases. I think in general, because it's not an old country, like it's only been sort of scaled in the last 50 years or so. There's a lot of incumbents that have captured a large market share. So there is always a need and a sort of demand from the market for insurgents, so to speak, like companies that can disrupt how things are done. And most of them, like Kareem and we just had a very great presentation from Jack on Dubs. By the way, sorry, before I conclude my point, I was throughout this entire sort of case study, I was thinking, I hope Dubs had the same, pitch deck as well. The way you delivered it, I was like, if I had seen that, I would have invested right away. So really good work, by the way. But yeah, so I think because of the fact that there's main players that operate the market, it makes a very good case for most of the startups that are scaling here that will get a good fast exit. There's going to be an acquisition that comes into play really fast if you make your business case strong enough. Unlike other markets where the market share is divided. Again, it's interesting to kind of see it from a very different perspective. Generally when you have a market that has a large player, you don't want to enter it, but that is exactly the point of a disruption, right? So if you can disrupt that market, if you can come in and start creating ruckus, or you can start taking market share for them, really fast you're going to get offers lined up from the main sort of monopolistic elements in the country. Like, I mean, I think we discussed Emirates. So Emirates acquired Fly Dubai because it started to create disruption in the space. So I think from that angle, it's an interesting sort of case study if you're coming in here. So before we conclude this discussion, I just want to take a moment to thank the speakers that were part of this discussion. I think holistically, we covered quite a lot of topics, both from a branding or, sort of a scalability perspective. I think as an entrepreneur myself, I think Jack was mentioning this, like you're trying to solve your own problem, right? So as an entrepreneur, I've had, struggles like going through, them alone and not really knowing the answers. I think this is what we're trying to do with LaunchSphere and the collaboration between Tekrevol and DART. What we're trying to do is create this community of advisors and mentors that are extremely well equipped in their space to help the entrepreneurs of tomorrow scale faster. So whether it's Rasha, who comes in with her expertise on PR and sort of publications and knowledge base, or it's Mark, who comes in with exceptional experience in terms of AI and automation and process building, or Jack, who's also part of the LaunchSphere network through DART, who has a wealth of knowledge in terms of partnerships and strategic initiatives, coming in to the Middle East. What we want to do is have a founders first approach towards this community. So we'd love if you guys take not just sort of hear everything that we've shared so far, and there's been quite a few pieces of information that I think could be learned, but apply them. It's in this day and age, the only difference between a startup that fails and succeeds, it's not the mistakes that you made, right? It's how fast can you get away from them and just keep moving faster, implement, try new things, keep experimenting, keep iterating, keep pivoting. And again, with AI, and I'm sorry, I keep saying that again and again, the timeline between implementing something and seeing the results has shrunk massively. So I think it's high time that people start to sort of take initiatives, and I think Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, said it really, really well. This is the time where we're gonna see some of the first few under 10 people unicorns. This is a time when we'll see like a huge engagement on the entrepreneurship side and scalability for small startups and businesses. Yes, the incumbents are going to be there. Yes, there's going to be the Nvidias of today that are going to be trillion-dollar companies and have the highest market share, but there's going to be lots and lots of disruption just with the niche target. I think Rasha was mentioned this earlier in her part, that when you're looking to scale, you realize that you're on a niche market and it can't really grow faster than that. But on the other hand, now because of the cost that you're incurring on the AI side and automation, you can potentially target the niche segments and get really super hyper focused on that particular problem statement without incurring the cost of an enterprise company. So I think join up and send us any questions that you guys have. Would love to kind of have our advisor network, mentor network come and sort of help you out. And yeah, thank you guys again, Rasha, Mark, Jack, for joining. And would love to have you as part of our advisory network panel as well. And yeah, love to connect further on.
Great. Thanks, Abir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abir.
Thank you for having us. Have a great day.
So we'll